The pain of betrayal. I've always been a man of simple pleasures. My life revolved around working at the electronics store, going on fishing trips with my buddies on weekends, and spending quiet evenings at home with my girlfriend, Emily. We'd been together for nearly 5 years, and while our relationship had its ups and downs, I believed it was solid. I thought we were in it for the long haul. Emily was the kind of woman who could light up a room just by walking in. She was vibrant, outgoing, and her smile had a way of making everything feel right. I loved her more than I could put into words, and I tried my best to be the man she deserved. I had even started thinking about proposing, imagining our future together, buying a house, starting a family, growing old side by side. But lately, something had felt off. Emily had been distant, spending more time on her phone, and she often made excuses to avoid spending time with me. At first, I told myself it was just stress from her job or that she needed some space, but the unease I felt wouldn't go away, no matter how hard I tried to ignore it. One evening, I decided to surprise Emily by cooking her favorite meal, spaghetti carbonara. I thought it might help us reconnect, bring us closer again. As I set the table, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower, so I glanced at the screen to see who was texting her so frequently. The name that popped up wasn't one I recognized. Tom. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach as I picked up the phone. I knew it wasn't right to invade her privacy, but the unease had been gnawing at me for weeks, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. With trembling hands, I unlocked her phone and began scrolling through the messages. What I saw made my blood run cold. The texts between Emily and this guy, Tom, were flirtatious, intimate, and recent. They talked about meeting up, reminisced about a night they had spent together, and even made plans for another rendezvous later that week. My heart shattered as the truth set in. Emily was cheating on me. The woman I had loved and devoted myself to for years was betraying me behind my back. I felt like an idiot for not seeing the signs sooner. When Emily came out of the shower, she found me sitting at the kitchen table, her phone in my hand. The look on my face must have said it all. She started to explain, to apologize, but I couldn't hear any of it. I was too numb, too broken to process her words. "I trusted you," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "How could you do this to me?" She reached out to touch me, but I stood up, stepping away from her. "Don't," I said, my voice now firmer. "I need some time to think." Without another word, I grabbed my keys and walked out the door, leaving her standing alone in our kitchen. I drove around aimlessly for hours, my mind racing. I couldn't believe that the woman I had planned to spend the rest of my life with had been unfaithful. I thought about confronting Tom, about screaming at Emily, but none of those options felt right. All I felt was an overwhelming need to escape, to get away from the memories and the pain. Eventually, I found myself at a small, secluded lake, a spot Emily and I used to visit during the early days of our relationship. The place was now tainted with memories of a love that no longer felt real, but it also offered me a strange sense of solace. I sat by the water, staring out at the reflection of the moon, trying to make sense of my feelings. Days turned into weeks, and I struggled to come to terms with what had happened. Emily called and texted relentlessly, begging for forgiveness, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. I needed to figure out what to do with my life now that the future I had imagined was gone. I started spending more time with my friends, leaning on them for support. They tried to cheer me up, taking me out to bars and inviting me over for dinner. But the emptiness inside me was hard to shake. I knew I had to confront Emily eventually, but the thought of seeing her again was too painful. One evening, after a few too many drinks with my best friend, Mark, I finally let out all the anger I'd been bottling up inside. "Why did she do this to me?" "Man, what did I do wrong?" I slurred, my eyes glassy with tears. Mark shook his head. "You didn't do anything wrong? Dave, some people just don't appreciate what they have. Emily, she made a choice, and it's not your fault." I nodded, but the pain in my chest didn't go away. I don't know how to move on from this." Mark patted me on the back. "You will. It's gonna take time, but you'll get through it. And when you do, you'll be stronger for it." As the weeks went by, I slowly started to regain some sense of normalcy. I focused on my job, poured my energy into my hobbies, and even started going to the gym again. But no matter how hard I tried to distract myself, the thought of Emily and Tom was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. One day, while scrolling through social media, I came across a quote that resonated with me. "Sometimes, the best revenge is moving on and being happy." The words struck a chord. I realized that dwelling on the betrayal was only giving Emily more power over my emotions. If I truly wanted to move on, I needed to let go of the anger and hurt. I decided it was time to confront Emily and end things once and for all. I wasn't sure what I would say, but I knew I needed closure. I called her and asked to meet at a coffee shop we used to frequent. When Emily arrived, she looked nervous, her eyes puffy as if she had been crying. I felt a pang of sympathy, but I quickly pushed it aside. I needed to stay strong. "David, I'm so sorry," she began, her voice trembling. "I know I messed up, and I'll do anything to make it right. Please, just give me another chance." I looked at her, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. Sadness for what we had lost, but relief that I was finally taking control of my life. "I can't, Emily," I said, my voice steady. "What you did, it broke something inside me. I can't trust you anymore. And without trust, there's nothing left." She started to cry, but I remained firm. "I'm not going to hold on to this anger anymore. I'm letting go, for my own sake. I deserve to be happy, and so do you. But that happiness isn't something we can find together anymore." Emily nodded, wiping away her tears. "I understand. I'm sorry. David, I really am." I stood up, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "Goodbye, Emily," I said, and with that, I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving the past behind me. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I reconnected with old friends, pursued new interests, and even started dating again. The pain of Emily's betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I had learned to accept what had happened and was determined to move forward. One day, while out for a run, I ran into a woman named Sarah. We struck up a conversation, and before I knew it, we were laughing and sharing stories as if we had known each other for years. Sarah was kind, thoughtful, and had a warmth about her that I found comforting. We started seeing each other more often, and slowly, I began to open up to the idea of love again. I knew I was taking a risk, but I also knew that I couldn't let the past dictate my future. As our relationship grew, I realized that what I had with Sarah was different from what I had with Emily. It was built on trust, respect, and a genuine connection. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly happy. One evening, as Sarah and I sat on the porch of my new apartment, watching the sunset, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had been through hell and back, but I had come out the other side stronger and wiser. "Thank you for being here with me," I said, taking Sarah's hand in mine. Sarah smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. "I'm just glad you gave us a chance." I nodded, feeling a warmth in my chest. I had learned the hard way that life doesn't always go according to plan. But I had also learned that sometimes the best things come from the unexpected. As we sat there, watching the sky change colors, I knew that I had made the right choice. I had taken control of my life, moved on from the pain of betrayal, and found happiness again. And in the end, that was the best revenge I could have ever hoped for. Like and subscribe for more stories!